through the system. Okay, what is on the island of Oahu and meet up with people, we find some rather astonishing testimonies. This is like kind of the thing, right? But can't figure out a way how to make to live here in Hawaii. Going through these conversations, it's interesting getting to know how people think, because once you know how are, which comes back to the illegal occupation and the state in insurrection of maritime law. So, being at home, working from home, being able to support my children from home, and now others, a lot of people think that you have to have money to get somewhere. And the reality is that's actually not true. You have to have belief, and you have to have communication, and you have to be willing to work to be able to get the practical application of understanding the written application, which comes back to the blockchain. So that's what I'm talking to Hawaiians and Kanakas and those who are receptive about. And the blockchain is amazing. And so once people understand the technology and can identify how it is useful and how it can solve problems, and some of the biggest problems it solves is fraud and regulation by people who don't even know what the hell they're trying to regulate, because they've never put any type of productive activity in understanding it, just because they believe they make the rules. But when you are in insurrection of maritime law and in illegal annexation of a state based on a corporate entity that's registered in Washington, D.C., then you really don't have the authority to actually operate and make the laws and impose the laws. You are acting as a criminal. And now we as a citizenship base who's identified this, what's happening now is more people the awareness is building. And the structure in people's minds is collapsing in Hawaii because, right, the Federal Reserve, families, the free, a lot of people realize how much of history was not put out in front of you for you not to hear and for not to be informed with. And then a lot of the history that was fake news, time to plan the next 30 years, like, the elites in Davos. So they get together, the UN in, over there in some foreign land, and all the rich people who got their money by controlling the system from top to bottom, including your paycheck, they are now being threatened, and that's why they hate Donald Trump. But I'm on board with stopping human trafficking and child sex slavery and pedophilia. And we can see how the last 50 years of their indoctrination into the public schooling system and even into the collegiate schooling system has really fucked people up. There are lots of people confused right now trying to use pseudoscience to try to convince us now and then I can't hold the baby, and then try to make me call you a girl because you feel like it today. And tomorrowans, I feel very much so like that. And looking at the political hemispheres, right, and all of the things that we've been able to witness, and a collaborative pieces of information that's been shared amongst peer-to-peers who all have their vested interest in staying alive and being free. In order to go and get an adoption paperwork, because my mom was adopted, this is how the story is going, this is how what I've been informed and updated with when I wasn't here, because I was in, America. But anyhow, coming back here, my mom had to get her birth certificate. And lo and behold, on her birth certificate, it says, it says Caucasian, which she is not. It says African, which she is not, and American Indian, which she is not. My mom is Hawaiian. And so on her legal human trafficking documentation called adoption paperwork, during the time that she was born and adopted, since then they removed Hawaiian from her birth certificate, which I find quite suspicious. right, Tia? Very suspicious. And then because I graduated from Kamehameha, I went to try to find documents so that I could get the land that my family has, or my ohana, or my genealogy, whatever. Okay. And then when I went to Kamehameha, all the records from all of their students on paper are no longer there. It's been moved somewhere else. Plus, they went digital, and that was everything since 2003 before. Okay, so now even when you went to a school where you had to prove your legitimacy of your Hawaiian ancestry, my age, I'm 41, I can't go back over there 20 years after I graduate, and they have a no system because of all of the COVID stuff in terms of now getting connected with them. But in addition to that, you have to go and do all of these things. And one of the documents that so if it's not there, they're willing to help find the genealogy. Okay, I will not take an ancestry swab. I do not trust these private people with my information. Okay, so I'm going in a different route, and these things that I'm telling you now that it's after fact. It's been discovered in my journey finding out. Okay, so you got to think about this for a second. So then, you can go back to health and statistics records department to try to get the adoption birth certificate prior to her adoption. But the funny thing is about that is it doesn't show her nationality anymore. So that's what we've already discovered because my mom went and got her birth certificate. Now, the next thing we have to think about chronologically is the factual matter of what's happening right now politically. Okay, because everything is the Democrats, the liberals really, are pointing the finger and causing problems, doing the same thing that they're doing, but they're blaming it, and now the other people have to figure out how to, first, after being falsely accused of what they're doing, they have to now fight them legally, and then make sure that they're taking care of themselves and their families because people's lives were being threatened and things of that nature. We'll talk about that more on the shows. But moving forward, when you think about this, so if I go down there this way and they don't want to give the birth certificates, then I gotta go to family court and then request, this is what's interesting, a document of racial extraction. I think that's racist. Now, when you put all of the pieces together in 2021 in this very snapshot of summary of discovery that I've had in my own personal life and my mom's, right? And seeing where we're at in Hawaii and